starring actual real brothers Jason Spivey and his little brother Brandon.
All right, guys, we are back. We're going to kind of do probably our last segment in one kind of fail swoop here.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of give you guys probably system overload of information, which is kind of what we're going to do here for the next probably few videos as we close out the season, just to kind of get a lot of stuff out there in your guys' ear about what to expect for next season. Man, we got a lot of stuff coming up. One thing I've been working on, dude, I'm really excited about this one. I think it's going to work in so many different ways to kind of from when we help guys make suggestions on who should be in their lineup or out. Go ahead.
Or who had a good game or he didn't.
Yep.
Compared to where they are in your lineup.
Correct. So what I'm going to be establishing this is going to be our EA numbers, and what that is our expert averages. Okay, so I got a group of experts that I reached out to. I had them come up with what we consider is a par scoring system. Okay, so if everybody can understand me and follow me for a second, we all know what par is. If you know what par is on a golf course, try to imagine it in this game here.
Par is average.
Yes, par is average. So we are establishing an average score for each of our fantasy positions in our lineup. And I mean, we went down all the way to kickers and defenses even. So I had my three experts. I'm not one of them. I'll leave those guys anonymous. But I had those guys come up with the numbers in a couple different ways, how they saw fit. They all explained it to me, and everything is pretty much on the up and up on how I wanted them to do it, where it's not solely based off of the analytics.
Yeah. And the other thing was we differentiated between running back one and running back two, and receiver one and receiver two. So you got an idea what a good number two running back should be doing.
Yeah.
Not just, hey, this is what average running backs do, and it's just being a big blur.
Yeah. So as we're going to explain this, and I'll piggyback on what Jason's talking about there. So whenever he talks about the running back two or the wide receiver two in those positions where we have two eligible for each position, the second tier got ranked from the positions of the 13th rank to the 24th rank if they were in the two spot. So they weren't taking the averages of all top 24 receivers. They were taking the averages of 13 to 24.
Second tier.
And the top and the wide receiver one and running back one was being averaged out from the tier of 1 to 12, I guess. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So here's where we're at. Our EA numbers. Are you ready to unveil them?
Yeah, this should give you a good barometer of what to expect out of a good, solid draft pick, waiver wire pick, play each week when you're trying to figure out on bye weeks. Okay, this is what I'm shooting for par. Just to shoot par this week, par or better. Because
Yeah.
you're on the golf course, you want par or better.
Yeah. I'm kind of thinking of it like a return on investment type situation here. What are we asking for in return for putting them in a starting spot for a fill in for a bye week or something like that? That's where these numbers are going to help you. And then obviously we're going to be able to use it to tell you how you did and kind of make sense of it as we incorporate these numbers throughout the
And as we put these numbers together, the cool thing about it is, let's just take McBride. He's been the number one tight end. You know, there's weeks out there he was below par.
Yeah.
He was not in the top 12 scoring for that week, so he would have been below par that week.
Yep.
And there's a lot of weeks he's well above par
Yeah.
with the way he scores.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it works.
And well, essentially it'll be a plus minus essentially when we get to it
Yeah.
on kind of where you stood, where you per position,
Mhm.
plus this, plus that, and that plus minus is going to be based off of these numbers, which are our EA numbers. So for the quarterback, our EA average, where do you think we're at, Jason?
My guess is around 18.
19 is our QB EA average.
So if you think about the top 12 each week, not overall, but each week, so you want your guy to be scoring 19 or better to be competitive.
So this is a great segue into how these guys should thinking about it or should be thinking about it in regards to we have three teams fighting quarterback problems in the fighting for a Super Bowl right now.
Yeah.
You guys should be asking yourself, I'm going to replace my quarterback because this guy's hurt or this guy's not there. I'm looking for who can get me 19 points at least.
And whenever we had that conversation about McCarty and Williams, that was the mentality I'm using. Gives me the possibility of scoring better than par?
Yeah.
That's why I was saying Caleb's got that higher ceiling.
Yep. So establish who can get me to par,
Yep.
and then who can get me better than par. So that's kind of how we're starting to think about this. So the running back one position, so our top 12 running backs, where do you think we're at?
I would think around 22, 23.
It's actually a little bit under. I thought we were going to get up to 22 or 23.
Oh, and then we see some 40-point games.
Yeah, and
40-point games.
it actually ends up coming in at 21. And the thing I like about why I did it with 3 people, because when I got all your guys' numbers back, I took those numbers and averaged those out too. So this is an average of an average, you know what I mean? So this is a good pure number, I feel like. But I know that at least one of the people doing these numbers took away the number one person from that position each week. So they were taking the outlier off the top and then averaging out from there. So if that makes any kind of sense. So that may have helped bring that number down.
Yeah, and I think all 3 people did not have a parameter on how to do it. They came up with their own way to score at par.
Yes, correct. These were 3 private conversations. Nobody knew what conversation was happening with the other, and it was expressed differently on how to come up with your numbers to each and every person that I talked to. So that's kind of how that worked out. Running back 2. So running back 1 was 21 again. I felt like that did drop down a little bit, but I understand why when if you want to take out that outlier to get a better sense of what an average is, I get it. Running back 2, what do you think?
17, 18?
No, that's a little bit up there too. 15.
15. Maybe I'm just thinking about my running back.
That's what I mean. So
it's hard to when I'm my running back.
It really
I'll
is,
probably
because
low
you got a lot of
receivers.
number ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's hard to think about, and that's what we're all doing. Is we're out here searching to try to go out and beat Jahmyr Gibbs. Well, no. Search for 15 if that's what your spot is that you're feeling.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? All right. So wide receiver 1.
Wide receiver 1. I'm gonna
Remember,
guess,
running back 1 was 21.
I'm gonna guess 20.
19. So pretty close. And it would be interesting if we were in a point system, or the decimal point system.
Yeah.
How that may factor in. And guys, we're going to be going through a lot of changes next year. I don't know that I'm ready to incorporate the decimal point change yet.
I think you'll like it when you do.
I know I will, but I think I'm going to want to hold off one more season because we got so much
every
changing.
yard counts.
I know, and maybe we will. I don't know. It's just we're going to be doing a lot of changing this year. So anyway, that was 19 points. Wide receiver 2.
14.
14 hit right on the head. So 14 for the wide receiver 2. So tight end, I kind of unveiled this earlier, but keeping in mind that Trey McBride scores 19 points per game.
What was it? Maybe
Average tight end.
maybe
Yeah,
11
no.
or
10.
10.
10 for our tight ends. So our flex, okay. So this is a pretty interesting number because you feel like people should be able to put in a pretty good option there.
Because you got 3 positions you can put into this.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing if you got 10 out of your flex, you're doing good.
11.
Okay.
11 is our flex number. Kicker.
Kicker, I think you need to be getting. I mean, there's a lot of kickers that get into double digits, but I'm going to think if you're thinking about the average, what would be par? I'm going to guess 8 or 9.
Very good. I mean, it's 9, and yeah, you're right there. You pretty much need to be hitting.
Yeah.
You need to get to double digits to be making a difference with the kicker, I think.
Yep.
So again, it kind of goes back to where you're 2. I mean, dude, that's a -7 before
Like I said, he scored double digits most games.
Exactly, and you're starting
And
your biggest
when
game of the
he's
season
back,
with a -2
when he's down 7 points
or -7.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah. So and then defense,
I'm gonna guess about the same as the kicker, 8 or 9.
it's a little bit down 7.
Okay.
But I do feel like defense is a
Seems like
Kind of-
there's been a lot of big games from defenses, but I could see 7 too.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. The overall number is 125. I know we talked about it.
All year long was just our number was 120.
120. That was what I had in my mind, just based off of what I was seeing. So we weren't too far off of that
Not
either.
at all.
So again, that's going to be our EA numbers, guys. So pay attention to that. Hopefully that's the only time I have to go into that deep dive on it. But as we talk about what's the EA numbers, that's what it is. I really think it's
So,
gonna be
so
fair.
let me ask you this: you've done all this work, and I don't want to add more work to you because I know you do a lot for this show. But when you get to where you want to do some more work, because we're trying to help everybody, we just went through the starters.
Yeah.
can we get a quarterback 2, a running back 3, a receiver 3? So you know maybe who to go after on your bench at some point. Should we look at doing
I'm absolutely on board with that.
expanding on this? I mean, if we're going to give you guys some help, that will help you on the waiver wire week 7 in the middle of the season. Like, hey, I need to go after a running back. I want a guy that's going to average 8, whatever that number is.
Well, I mean, you're right because we're in a pretty deep league and our waiver wire gets pretty thin.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be living in that zone where you're making decisions on your weekly pickups and ad drops based on players outside of those startables.
So yeah, if we're wanting to give these guys some information,
I think we do need to take it to one extra per position. Yeah, so you have a bench slot that you can kind of factor into your thought.
Probably don't need to get too carried away on the kickers and defense at that point right away, or maybe even not even the flex. If you did quarterback, running back, receiver,
I think that just kind of gives you enough to work.
That gives you your flex.
Yeah,
so,
it kind of does.
Maybe you can give your guys a call and see what they can come up with.
Yep, I will. I'll do that. I like that. So, and that's what I like about it. That's kind of the feedback. When we ask for feedback, that's the shit we're talking about. It's like you see the stuff we're doing. Everybody seems to be on board with it. And everybody knows what it is we're doing. If you have an opinion of something you'd like to see or something that we could improve on, just say it.
The one cool thing I like about this point system, now that you kind of got an idea, I think if you take this information into your trade negotiations with somebody and say, okay, I might be trading a receiver 2, what is value for a receiver 2? You've gotten a little bit, and now you know what a little bit of his value is.
I mean, it puts a hard number so you can really classify.
We're always looking for home runs, but it teaches you how to find the singles and doubles throughout the whole season.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're doing because an overall ranking system does nothing for a week-to-week league.
So maybe this point system, where everybody's trying to make a big splash on a trade and trade 1-for-1s and the big stars, maybe you start seeing a lot of number 3 running backs getting traded around, or number 4 or number 3 and 4 receivers getting traded around.
And that's again kind of exacerbates why this is so good of an idea because it does help to establish a value to the unvaluable players.
Now you can see I can trade a number 2 running back for a number 2 receiver a little easier now because you see the value of them.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think there's so much pushback on these trades that happen? A lot of it I stir up in the group chat just so I don't have to deal with it on my private messages. I let it all happen out there, so that's why I just get out in front of it in the group chat.
But when you think about it, you start taking the star power name off of it and start looking at your numbers and your rankings and stuff like that. Hey, I traded a 2 for a 2. Or that it takes all that argument away.
Yeah. So just for the sake of the argument, can you pull up Justin Jefferson for me real quick off your roster and just give me what his average per game is, and we're just going to put it to the test right now.
Well, let's take a look here. Justin Jefferson on the year, 11.2.
So Justin Jefferson is 11.2. Our wide receivers EA is 14.
For wide receiver 2.
Correct.
So that does not even make him a wide receiver 2.
What'd you say his number was?
11.2.
That would round down to an 11. He is a flex.
He is a flex.
A flex is an 11
option.
So we was just able to establish where Justin Jefferson's
value
is based off of what he's doing on the field, not who he is.
Exactly.
So I hope you guys can kind of understand how beneficial that would be for you. That makes sense. That's going to shut up anybody squawking about that trade. Not that anybody is.
But I mean, like I said, you start taking the names out of it and putting the numbers into it.
Yeah.
Hey, is that a fair trade? Is it not a fair trade?
Yeah, I don't really remember when or why this came to me about why. It's just this whole idea of the fact that we're doing essentially our own ESPN.
Right.
We're kind of covering our league in an ESPN kind of format.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking about things that they do and like, how can we do it for our league? Mm-hmm. So it's like, why not have a ranking system that's based off of what we're needing?
What we're seeing off our scoring system.
Yes.
Because everybody's scoring system is different.
Correct.
The way we present our games, these guys score this way, this is what they should be scoring.
Yeah, so everybody, and just to kind of expand on that, everybody that did give me back on these or give me these numbers and work with me on this was basing it off of our numbers
Yeah.
and not a general rankings. So that's why this is going to be so hugely important. I feel like it's just going to just really start to push our league into another level.
And it's really, when you start thinking about it this way, those guys that score 40 here and there, and I mean, you just basically, I mean, that's albatross. I don't know what you call that.
I don't know. We're going to come up with
because there's some cool. I mean,
Hey, if somebody comes up with anything,
whatever we want to call it, but it's just like, I mean, obviously those we call them those boom games just because everybody else does. But
well, I mean, because it's just one of the stats. When you click on a player, if you scroll down for a second, you'll see a boom or bust option on him.
well, yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of why I just talk about it. It's easily relatable that way.
Yeah, you got your boomer bust meter there, and say like I just picked up Bucky Irving because I was on my screen, and his boom game would be 19.5 points.
That would be a boom game for him. So Bucky Irving doesn't even boom as a running back one. All right, guys. So I'm not sure where we're landing at in the video at this point, but we just went down a good 20-minute rabbit hole of these EA numbers and how we can make sense of why guys should be starting or not starting, or can you validate where they're at, how many times you've started them, and we've been able to pull some interesting numbers.
Yeah, we did just a lot of what ifs, this guy over this guy, and guys that were actually, decisions people were making this year in our league, and how it projects with these numbers and the decisions they should have made. And one conversation we had was, are you that guy that likes the steady Eddie points, or do you like the boom bust guy? And there's teams out there that's got both of those guys on his roster. Which one do you play?
Yeah, so I mean, real quick, while we're on the subject, I guess, and this will just kind of be a good precursor to kind of how we're going to utilize these numbers moving forward. But when we're talking about Team Big Fish and his quarterback contemplation this week, and this is an important game, a Super Bowl contender here, with the decision of Dak Prescott over Jared Goff, and that's a conversation you and I just had. And it kind of makes, go ahead and kind of elaborate on how we make sense of it and what he's up against.
So he, you're sitting here with a 49 point out of Puka, and you got one quarterback who he has a boom bust potential. He's up and he's down. He's up and he's down.
May I interject for just a second? I just want to remind the folks at home that our QB EA number is 19.
Yeah.
As a reminder, as you go into that, go ahead.
Yeah. So you got just one quarterback that's he'll score upper 20s and he'll score 10, 11. Upper 20s, 10, 11. He's a boom and bust guy.
Yeah.
His other quarterback is 17, 18, 19, 20 points, and he just stays right along that line.
But never seems to get to the
Doesn't
30
get that 30-point game. I think he did one time in the whole season, but doesn't go down to that 10-point game either.
So it's kind of like pick your possible.
So you're
poison.
sitting here with a 49-point lead right now. Do you want those steady
Do you want to trust
18, 20 points? Or do you want to have that guy in there that's going to potentially give you a 10?
Yeah. Should we give him the numbers on what we just broke down so he can see this?
I mean, we can give them to him.
Do you want to do
it
that?
is very interesting
It's
how we
against
just
you.
Yeah, I'm game. I mean,
it's just to kind of show.
It's crazy how it worked out.
All right, well, let's do it. All right, we're going to dive into this for a second for you guys, just so you can kind of see what we're talking about and how we do this. So if you want to go ahead and pull up Jared Goff real quick. So what we're doing is we're going to base this off of a 19-point average quarterback. That is our average quarterback score per week. Okay, so again, this doesn't get influenced by injuries and bye weeks because this is based off of the per week numbers. So it's the best per week. We average that out. Okay, 19 is our number for the quarterback position. In my opinion, that probably has about a 2-point variance on either side on whether that player is actually a startable, you know what I mean? Because we're doing an average. So I would say if it's 19, 21 would probably be the best. And obviously the explosion game's out of the equation here, and then whereas 17 would probably be that bottom end of the top tier.
So here we talk about with Jared Goff. You look back at the last 7 games. Worst game in there being a 13. The highest game being in there is a 25. When you kick out the outliers, everything is right in there between 16 and 24 points, and they're all just right in there.
And again,
so it's a little bit of that finer line that he's going to give you this.
Yeah, you're exactly. I mean, just it's like speed bumps, you know what I mean?
And then you go over to Prescott. He's got that 27-point game, the bigger boom of a game, but he gets down into that 11, 15, 7. Like, is he going to give you one of them kind of games?
Yeah, and that's substantially. I mean, we're out of startable positions.
So when
at that
you're
point.
when you're splitting hairs, you're thinking about, okay, what am I going to do? And now that you have that advantage, like, hey, I know I got 49 out of Puka.
Can I ask you a question just to round out the conversation? Can you tell us what a max out score for Dak has been this season? What his highest was? Because we know Goff, even in his best, barely gets to 30, but he got there. I can't remember how high Dak can get.
Dak hit 31 time and then 29 one time.
Okay, so he's
So it's not even going to. It's not even your big time.
So yeah, so you're
So
not
his-
even.
his
So his best
peak-
isn't really.
His peak isn't a huge peak,
Yeah.
but his valleys when you're getting down into sevens.
You know, we were having that conversation a few minutes ago. For some reason, I had it in my head that Dak had gotten up there around 40 once or twice. Given the fact that really 31, 29, kind of where he peaks out, gosh, dude, I'm really starting to second guess the decision to play Dak in this game.
Got a couple sevens in there, and 11,
That's what I mean.
12,
Like, based off of the lows,
15.
I think if you're in this position, given with that 49 sitting there, I think it's in your best interest to play Jared Goff in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're sitting there splitting hairs and trying to figure out who do I play, that's the decision Dan's got to make. It's
And that's where these numbers.
and everybody's calling that one way or the other. One guy wants that boom. I want to get the possibility of that 29, 30 point game. Dak's the way to go if you're trying to get to that game. But if you're trying to avoid that 7, 8, 9 point game, you might be better off going to Goff.
That's what I mean. Like, so we'll just finish it up here. I think this is a good deep dive into how this is going to work for these guys. But like, gosh, it's like really hard to justify playing Dak when you break it down this way.
Well, I mean, like I said, his ceiling's a little bit higher.
But what, 4 points?
Yeah.
So I mean, the way I'm understanding it, and I'm just following along with you here. This
Yeah.
isn't like I've got some predetermined
Well, but the thing that he's got also to contend with is he's got to make that decision at quarterback because McCaffrey does not play till Monday night.
Yeah, and I get that.
So he's kind of got to watch it and play it and go,
And
okay, where do
kinda
I go? Where do I go?
Hope
Where
he's
do
got
I
enough of a
go?
lead to hold him off.
Yeah,
and
so
I understand that.
McCaffrey might think, okay, maybe I do want that 30 points.
I just got to ask myself: is the +4 worth the possibility of a -12?
Right.
That's what you got to be asking yourself, big fish.
Now, my roles, if I'm having to go on my quarterback decision with who gives me the higher ceiling because I'm in a 49-point hole right now. So
Yes.
So as I'm looking at my two quarterbacks we talked about earlier in the show, where I might be leaning to, that's going to come into play.
And it goes back to even the Warden's game. I mean, that's exactly why you talked about why he should want to maybe play Caleb, and that might be a dive. Maybe we should justify it for the sake of
Yeah.
if we're going to do it for Dan and he's on his way to the Super Bowl. Scott's got the same question on his end, so maybe we should look at Caleb Williams real fast,
Yeah.
and look at JJ McCarthy and kind of make sense of their body of work, what the boom and bust potential is for Caleb Williams based off of the averages.
So we go over to McCarthy real quick here. He don't have a lot. He was injured a lot. this
Right,
year.
I know that, but maybe we can.
But
work
he's
something.
got when we talk about above par, he's got a game at 21, a game at 20, and a game at 23, and a game right at 19.
Okay.
But then he has the game he got hurt in. He only scored 3.
We're going to take that one out.
But he does have a game at 6, another game at 0 that he got hurt again in.
Okay.
So you got that game at 6 in there.
So we got two
A game
games
of 14.
of injury. That's got to be something. Big.
Yeah, but you do have a game at 6 in there.
And a game of 6. You got 2 injury games, a single-digit game. You got
Before-
Caleb Williams, who's been an Ironman, and is pretty. Has he been an Ironman in this season?
Yeah.
In his career.
Yeah,
So far?
he actually has 31
That's what I'm
starts.
saying. He started every game, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And then yeah. So again, I'm not seeing a huge boom there with JJ McCarthy. So if you feel like it's just kind of the steadier Eddie option based off of where he's at right now and kind of riding what's trending here recently, I'm not going to say that that's a bad decision, but I'm anxious to hear these numbers.
All right, here's your booms for Caleb. You got a 24, a 32, a 23, a 42, a 25, a 21. got one game at a 4 and one at a 9. That's the other side of things, and one at a 10 that you got to look at.
So
There's your roller coaster ride.
it's a roller coaster ride, but it seems
But
like
when
the
you-
same roller coaster ride that he's juggling the same roller coaster ride,
Yeah.
but one has a better potential. I mean, he's got to be just.
So that's
one
why I
strictly
was
matchup.
talking. That's why I was talking about earlier is who's got that higher ceiling.
It's definitely Caleb.
It's definitely Caleb. So I mean, so is that where?
I mean, he's got to be banking it on straight matchup.
It's got to be match.
I mean, he's got to be taking matchup over analytics here.
Well,
and
so,
again,
so
the
okay, let's go with
analytics.
the matchup here is talking what we've talked about McCarthy. You know, Caleb played Green Bay a couple weeks ago, scored 14. So do you take 14 is not up to par? So is that why he's pulling him out of that lineup this week?
On the road in Green Bay,
This game will be
I feel like that's at least, or being back home is at least plus 3 or 4
Yeah.
points. I
Well-
think that puts him back into at least par.
And you take a defensive player of the year contender off the field this year.
In Mike
this week,
Parsons,
Parsons.
yes, I know. So like, I don't. To me, it just seems a lot more riskier that JJ McCarthy would flame out here and bust than it does Caleb. I'm not Scott. I don't have to make this decision.
No, we're just presenting.
But
so it's,
We did
it's
it
a conversation.
in all fairness,
Yeah.
and we at least made sense of why these numbers are starting to come into play here, and maybe give Scott a little bit of insight on how he should be approaching this decision.
Yeah. So yeah, do you want that? You got a lot to look at there. He's got a lot to make that decision. And Bears playing Saturday night, so he can't take that into, or on Saturday night, so he can't take that into Sunday.
Wow, man, I didn't even realize that.
And that Green Bay game Saturday night. So
Wow, yeah, that'll be a fun one. So yeah, so again, guys, I hope you kind of understand what we're doing here. I think we did a pretty good job of breaking it down, giving some examples of how this is going to work. And gosh, I think just you and I got a real sense of how exciting it's going to be for us to
Yeah.
really be able to make sense of how we're giving you guys
Yeah.
information and recommendations.
yeah, and I'm kind of excited to find that that QB2, that
Yeah.
RB3 receiver.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought
Just so
that up.
we got an idea of the kind of players we need to be putting on our bench now.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of know where that threshold is.
You
to
know, a
where
lot of
guy-
people will put a vet on their bench, a rookie on, your sleeper on the bench, but you want to have some of these receiver 3 guys, running back 3 guys on your
Well,
bench
we
too.
also need to know where the cutoff point is because again, this is just an average. So that's the middle of these guys. So the middle of 1 to 12, the middle of 13 to 24. We need to know what 25 is. And you know what I'm saying? So we know kind of where your benchmark is of who's benched and who's a start. What's my guy flirting with to get into that flex position this week?
Right. So yeah, so it'd be interesting. Kind of teaches you how to maybe
Make some decisions.
decision on the kind of guys you used to have.
Yeah.
So
So I thought it was fun, man. We're gonna take a break here for a second, kind of regroup, man. We'll close out the show here pretty briefly. I know we've kind of thrown a lot of information at you. Just want to throw a little bit more. Just add a little fuel to the fire.
all right.
Just a second, guys. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. We're gonna close out the show. I know I said it last segment, but this one's for real. Serious. Anyway, we got serious about those numbers, dude, for like an hour.
we still been talking about them.
If you got a player on your roster, we probably just broke them down.
I think so.
Hey,
I think
Buka,
we just broke down your bench.
yes, hey, Buka's got a running mate though with Braden. We just figured that out.
Yeah, it's some crazy numbers when we start thinking about how the scoring system is and we start doing some plug and play with different people. What it really shows you.
It does, and it's really great, and that's kind of one of the things that we were talking about. Like, it's fun for us to sit here and toot our own horn when we find something that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head here with how have you ever seen even on ESPN when they break down their position or their players, weekly, do they break it down the way we just broke it down?
No, because that's what we were just talking about is, they like to tell you, who's got the good pick this week or who to start or who to sit or something like that. But, they give you all the obvious answers a lot of days, but they don't tell you, oh yeah, this quarterback, though he might give you a 30, he just might give you a 7 too.
Yeah.
You know, they don't get into all that stuff. So
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So hopefully you guys are able to kind of draw something from that. But anyway, moving on. Uh, I just want to talk about a few of the things that we've been discussing in the group chat over the course of the past week, and obviously I appreciate kind of the uptick in involvement there. You guys will start to see in this video why I'm requesting the selfies. Um, Hopefully I get one out there that does incorporate that. I'm not sure if I will in this one or not, but either way, you guys will get a sense of what I'm trying to do here based off of some of the stuff you're going to be seeing upcoming. And I do want to talk about some fantasy changes upcoming. Okay, so these are things that we are moving all system towards until I hit a roadblock. Okay, so these are things I see us doing until I kind of get some resistance. So one, we're going to start with scoring. Okay, based off of conversations we've had, the discussions we've had in the group. Okay, I want to simplify the kickers conversation when it comes to scoring. All right, this I think it got
all over the place.
It did,
And we
and,
didn't
you
even know what we could and couldn't do.
and part of it was I started talking about what my personal feelings were as opposed to what my personal feelings the scoring should be.
Right.
So anyway, I want to clear that up right now. We feel like if kickers are going to miss a point or lose a point for an extra point, or I mean a field goal, they should lose a point if they miss an extra point.
Yeah, if they're already losing the point for the field goal, yeah, I mean, especially with that field goal was, you know, a long one. That's where I kind of get on that negative points on the field goals on the longer ones.
Well, we're going to discuss that too. So I wanted to start with the extra point side of it.
Yeah.
So just on the extra point side of it,
which is a 38-yard field goal. And the way I always felt about it, or the way I'm used to playing, and I think it works well, because every position has a way of going negative, even the defenses, other than really kickers as we're sitting right now.
Mhm.
Obviously, they don't turn the ball over, but they do influence the game, especially on a missed extra point.
and
or
that
a
happened.
missed field
And
goal.
since they moved it back, the extra point misses are fairly common. I mean,
Yeah,
once a weekend anyway.
So you know, it's 38 on a extra point, and the way I see it is anything inside of 40, which includes an extra point, a 38 should be a negative, not a huge one. But once you get into those 50 yarders and them guys are, you know, just trying to go into halftime and it's basically a Hail Mary kind of a kick, you know, that should be penalized.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point. So just try to simplify it as quickly as I can. So we want to penalize. We want to add a penalty for the extra point miss. That's nothing crazy. And I know Scott or somebody put in there. You know, we don't want to penalize somebody more than what they could get.
Right.
So again, we're just talking about deducting
Yeah.
1 point for
You're
missing.
either
an
going to
extra
get the
point,
point or you're going to get a
or
negative.
you're going to
point.
lose a point. I mean, very simple. With that same philosophy, should we make it -3 for missing field goal? But I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
We're not doing that anyway. But to piggyback on what you just talked about, I would like to, and I did get into the website. I got into the scoring editing portion. It is a little bit more elaborate now. Here we are 4 years later, I think now. So I can go by yardage. So I do want to, I want to take away the penalty of anything over 50 yards.
Yeah.
So I want to, if you attempt a field goal over 50 yards, I don't want there to be any negatives for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm okay with 50. I'm at the point where I like it at 40. But I'm okay with 50 if that's where we're going.
I think given that the extra point is moving.
I think
38,
definitely over 50.
they're pushing. I mean, these 50 yarders are so common. They're kicking so many 60-yard attempts anymore. I feel like I don't want to reward them for the 40.
But yeah, definitely anything over 50. But yeah,
So that's really simple. That's all we're looking to do is I mean, for this first kind of initial change, if we need to do anything differently, we'll address it after the fact. But I want to remove the 1 point that we have for the bonus point for that 40 to 49 yard field goal.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't see a bonus for that at all.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want to add the penalty for missing the extra point, and then I want to differentiate between the yardage of what a penalty is on missed field goals. So long field goals don't penalize, short field goals do.
Yeah.
So we'll come up with that at the draft or whenever we need to come up with it. But that's something we're working on. Just wanted to clarify. That's all we're looking for. It's just to kind of simplify that scoring a little bit.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, and make it rounded out. You know, it doesn't make sense to be docked for missing a field goal from 60 yards, yet you miss an extra point that's closer and you don't get docked.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Anyway, TD bonuses. So that's something you talked about last week.
Yeah, the way we're set up, if you hit a 40-yard, you get a bonus, and then if you get a 50-yard bonus, you get the 50-yard plus the 40-yard.
Yeah, so again, they didn't, when I set that up, they didn't really walk me through that. That's the way I wanted it. So all I need to do on this one, guys, I just need to deduct 1 point from the 50-yard bonus. It sits at 2 now. It just needs to be at 1 because paired with the 40-yard bonus, it is 2, and that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, so you get the 1 for the 40, the 1 for the 50.
Yeah.
And that's it. Not a. So it's basically a 2-point bonus for anything over 50 yards instead of a 3-point bonus.
Yeah. And then I want to move on to the next kind of point. This is going to be a new conversation here, something we didn't discuss in the group chat, but something that's been on my mind is I feel like we could do a little bit better on, I'll leave it up to you guys, I don't know, but defensive scoring. I want to revisit the points against format.
I actually, that's one thing I like where we're at.
I want to add to it a little bit, actually. I feel like I just want to add a little bit. I think we're not rewarding enough for defenses holding teams under say 18 points.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number there where you go from earning points to losing points when it's on it. So I would go say, if we're going to add more points to one end, do we take from the other?
Well, I think my point is
because we see some defenses scoring 20, 30 points right now.
Well, the thing you're
Obviously,
right, but it's for touchdowns. So my thinking is so you're not getting rewarded for just the good defensive games that are just low scoring games.
You'll
so,
teams at 6, you'll teams at 10.
Yeah, so you're not being rewarded properly for that. So that's where I want to look to make a little bit of adjustments, and that's why, because I just feel like if they're holding a team from scoring, that's as good as getting.
The way I see it though is I like that number to be at like 14 as opposed to 18. That's 2 scores instead of 3 scores.
And that's my problem is right now we have it set at 7 and below.
Yeah.
So you pretty much lose all real bonuses. Yeah. So again, I want to move that bonus back a little bit to make it a little more inviting to teams that are getting rewarded. But I would like to just look at what the average score is for NFL teams and base it off of there.
Right.
So we know that we're if we're giving teams bonus points, they're holding teams below average. Yeah. We're not giving teams bonus points for giving up above average games.
Yeah, because I mean defenses are they score the lowest overall.
Exactly, and I'm pretty sure
it's like are they even a meaningless possession to
so
us?
If we did it to kickers, I think we could do a little bit of improvements to defenses without going overboard. That might make it a little more
more relevant.
Yeah, just by rewarding points against a little bit more fairly.
Gotcha.
So that's where I'm at with scoring. So that's all I want to do there. So I want to move on to rosters. Okay, looking at just one change here, and it's kind of an interchangeable change. If that makes sense. If that makes any kind of sense, I'll do that.
Just
anyway. So what we're doing is we're going to add 1 IR spot, and we're going to lose 1 bench spot. But it's just all one and the same.
Yeah, you're going to have the same amount of
spaces.
Yeah.
It's just 1 bench spot's going to be gone, and it's going to turn into an IR spot.
And what that'll do is if your 2 keepers are hurt for the season, it gives you an opportunity to keep both of them.
And not even that. I'm not even so much worried about the 2 keepers. I think about it for the sake of if you have a keeper who's hurt,
well, and not
you can have a guy who's out for 6 weeks in the IR and still, you know what I mean?
Because you got those guys that return from the IR.
Yeah, I got my guy hurt in week 3 or 4, whenever it was, when Neighbors got hurt, and he took up my IR spot the entire season.
Yeah, and I don't mind that second IR spot just because of now they designate this so many week IR.
Yeah.
And there are guys that go on IR and come off of it. And let's just say one of the big names that got hurt this year but came back. It's Mike Evans. Let's throw him out there. You have the opportunity now to keep him, a little bit more likely to keep him instead of throwing him back out there.
Yeah.
He comes back, now everybody's fighting over what.
Yeah, it gives a way to hold on to the valuable players, but it also gives a way to add a little bit back to the waiver wire.
Because you are hurt, yeah. So I mean, it's basically something similar with NFL does anyway with IR.
And talking to people, it sounds like that's kind of what common is becoming commonplace in leagues around. So that's kind of where we're at. Next change was going to be playoffs. Obviously,
Playoff.
playoffs. We know this change. We're gonna just
Do you
keep
know what
preaching.
playoffs are?
No. I was there last year,
Was you?
briefly.
Briefly. For the first quarter. Of the
Briefly
first
until I
game.
settled into my mid position where I draft every year, 6 or 7. But anyway, we're moving on. We're gonna move to 7 teams next year, guys. 7 teams, 1 bye week.
Overall best record.
Yep. And then we are looking for something to play for with that bottom 5. So that's going to be something we continue to talk about and continue to debate. Okay. There's going to be a lot of ideas, and I'm all for ideas. So the more ideas, the more I can kind of put something together.
And I will say, keep in mind there will be some kind of increase in pay to play. One, we're going to keep the 50 for the payouts, but we want to add a little bit extras. Oh, you already got it on your paper. But
He thought I was done, guys.
yeah, I just thought that you're at the end of your paper there. So, but I mean, so we don't know what that dollar amount is yet, do we? But
no.
whether it be $60, $75.
No, and we're going to kind of, again, we'll kind of put that out there. for
What kind of games can we play on a weekly basis?
Yep, and so we'll talk about a few of those here in just a second, just to kind of give ideas so people may be able to kind of turn on their thinking caps. So the bottom 5 again, we're going to want to put together something that we're playing for there, whether it be, I know Scott didn't like the idea of a play for pick kind of situation, and I'm not dead set on it. I don't really care. We want to find a way to give something for these guys.
More involvement.
Guys, it's week 16. I got a guy in my lineup who didn't play Thursday night because I don't have any reason to check my lineup. I'm not going to score 205 points.
Well, if you have more reasons to play at the end of the season too, you're less likely on guys that will even buy guys in their lineup.
Yep.
When they're out of it.
Exactly. So that's because I mean honestly, I didn't do it on purpose. I just never thought to look at my team because I didn't care who was playing on Thursday night. Yeah, I'm just waiting on this off season. So I'm just waiting on the short bus to drop me off. But anyway,
I do got a good idea for one of them side games. You
Yeah.
wanna hear it? Yeah. All right. So you know how there's tight ends weekend? Well, that weekend, whoever's tight end does the best wins. So much money.
okay, perfect. That is a great segue into the next segment, which is our weekly games. And that is something we're talking about, something that's been in the group chat, which is a great idea there. It's something Jason and I have talked about off camera. So I love the tight end idea.
Mhm.
And the more money we get into this pot, the more we can just keep coming out with new and random ideas. I have ideas, guys, that you won't. I mean, it never freaking ends with me, guys. I don't think anybody can really fully process how much I just sit and just think about things to do. So one thing, I even thought about doing is actually coming up with a numbered chart, and we can do it like bingo balls where we draw a ball for what we're playing for this week. We have guys just tell us a number, and we match that number up with a chart that they don't know what's on the chart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So where everything is random.
Just have some fun with it.
Yeah.
I mean, what kicker misses the most field goals this week? He wins.
Yes, exactly.
Just something crazy, but it just gives us something else to play for. And how things are with, these Zells and Venmos and Cash Apps, these little $5, $10 games are real easy for us to play.
Yeah. So one thing that we talked about was yardage games. Okay. So, I'm sorry, points games, not yardage games. That'll be the next one. My points game. So I want to try to get away from always doing who scored the most points in this position or that position.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're doing in fantasy football. So one thing Jason and I talked about was even having weeks where we do who did the worst based off their projections.
Yeah, the Dan game. I was projected to win, score 140, but I only scored 83.
Yeah. So who was worst against projection this
watching
week?
those projections so much.
Yeah. So that number.
Give Dan a reason to watch the projections.
Yeah, and that number's on the website, so it's not something that can be.
Well, also on the website when they do that recap every week, it tells you which individual player did the worst to their projection.
Yep.
You know, he was projected at 22, but only scored 3, and he was the worst of the week. And it tells you right there on our recap every week who
Yep.
that guy was.
And, you know, people will think that they might be able to play with that system and like, oh, I can make a last minute move to my lineup and it'll change my score to where they won't really be able to get a good average unless they see right when I do it, you know, blah, blah, blah. No, you can go back into each individual player and see what they projected for each game and add all that up and come up with the final score. So
Right.
we can come up with a pretty cut and dry system and be able to get payouts for absolutely anything we want to do, guys. And there's times, guys, I want games to be things that are outside of the football realm.
Right.
You know what I mean? I want it to, we'll do a scavenger hunt week. First person to send me a picture holding what? You know what I mean?
Bottle of bourbon?
Cold Bud Light can?
I win.
Oh, shit. Anyway, but you see what we're doing. Then, yardage games, obviously. That's another way where we can reward people for doing good things without doing the point side of it.
Yeah.
Instead of
Well,
being caught up on the points.
The one thing that you always see is those guys that are scoring the most points or doing the most. Those guys are normally in and at the end anyway.
That's what I
How
mean.
do we get a little bit more involved with some of the fun stuff?
Yeah, so that's kind of the way we want to start thinking about this. We want to come up with games that'll incorporate the middle of the group and the bottom of the group, not the top end. We don't want to cater to the top end. We don't want to do, that's why we don't want to focus on who scored the most, because it's always the same 4 people.
And they're probably winning.
And
money.
they're going to be playing for money
Yeah,
next week, which
yeah.
they already are. So, like, we don't need to just keep giving them more money. So, we're asking for you guys to put something back into the pot. We're asking for
We do
so that
like
we can
money.
spread it back out around all of us
You're trying to find ways to get some of your money back.
bottom feeders. Yes, yes, I am.
We
Exactly.
don't want to give you your money back
I know, dude. I've been donating to the cause for
every year. Every year.
12 years, 15, 20. But anyway, guys, we spit a lot of ideas at you. I mean, it's rapid fire. I hope everybody actually sits down and watches this and actually tries to pay attention.
I don't even know where this is going to go. It's been a couple rabbit holes today.
But I'm telling you what, though, like the more, like when I sit and watch it back, it's always refreshing because I feel like we wander off and get lost.
Mm-hmm.
But when I sit down and get to watch it and make sense of it, it's like, dude, we actually stay on point. We're given good information. It's just we ramble.
Well, when the Bud Light and the bourbon come out, it helps.
It's always fun though.
Yeah, it is.
Guys, I appreciate you sticking around for this. It's probably gonna end up being longer than we wanted it to, but tends to
Quick
happen.
video, huh?
Yeah, every week.
Yeah, that's what we said. That's what we thought. Quick video.